Hello friends, and welcome to another figure study where we are appreciating the aesthetics of Sentai once again with the Power Rangers SPD OmegaMax Megazord, specifically the Delta Squad Megazord and the Delta Squad Megazord and the OmegaMax cycle. I'm just mashing it all together at this point because why not? So we're going to be taking a look at each thing individually, the individual Megazords, and then the overall combined mode, because I've been meaning to get to this thing for a while, and now is the time. I will say, before getting too far into this, this is the Japanese version from Deca Ranger. I'm not entirely sure what each of the Zords are called in the Japanese version. I think this is Deca Robo, but I don't know about this one. I might look it up and post it along here. I might not. Depends on how I'm feeling. So yeah, even though this is the Japanese version, I'm just going to call it the DeltaMax Megazord and the OmegaMax cycle / OmegaMax Megazord. So just bear with me. Now, I'm not entirely sure what the differences are between them in terms of like paint and stuff like that. The only thing I know for sure that's different between the US and the Japanese version is these bits here on the OmegaMax cycle are silver in the US version, and in the Japanese version they're chrome. So that's that sorted. Anyway, let's start systematically taking a look at all of these things one by one. Alright, so, seeing as these things are all conveniently numbered, we'll start with number 1. Delta Runner 1, I believe it's called. This is a weird little 6-wheeled race car thing, and it doesn't look bad. The thing that's strange about all of these, and I'll show them off each time I go through one, is it's hard to tell precisely. Yes? You gonna join me? Oh. Yes, she does. Okay. Okay, you can be in the video. It's cool. Settle down. Do your thing. You can be the backdrop. Boop. So to anyone who might be unfamiliar with this, this is Astrid. Sometimes she is my shooting assistant, as she is this time. It's actually going to be kind of interesting to go back and look at some of these videos, because you can kind of see her getting bigger over the over the year. I think she's just about in full cat mode at this point, though, so not much kitten left. Hey. Nope. Don't go behind the backdrop. She's just kind of chilling out. Anyway, Delta Runner 1 is a... okay, so the thing that's strange about all of these vehicles is the fact that it's sometimes difficult to figure out which of these things is supposed to be where the person's sitting. Like, I'm pretty sure it's this kind of baloney-colored bit up here. I think that's the windscreen, but like this looks like it could be as well. But then if that were the windscreen, you couldn't actually see, so it's a little weird, but it's like a recurring weirdness in all of these other vehicles. So, I don't know. But it does look good. And I like just like the little extra bits of silver going over the lights here. And just, yeah, it's nice. The only real issue I have with this vehicle mode is these bits sticking off the wheels are just a little bit unsightly. I mean, I don't really know what they could have done, because this is where the arms are supposed to connect. So, unless they had like flip out things on the other vehicles that would stick in instead, it's, you know, it gets the job done. The wheels still spin. It just kind of stands out a little bit. And it has these little... You can get the thing. There we go. It has these little, like, arms that can come out for no particular reason. It's fine. It's not a thing that I ever really get any use out of when I'm messing around with this thing. The red and whites, you know, it works. I mean, it's obviously the Red Ranger, so that's that. And it has lights and sounds, and this is one of the few toys that I have where I think both the lights and sounds are actually kind of enjoyable. I like how you get a little bit of the lights on the underside there. I think that's cool. And we'll get into more of that after we do the robot mode thing. But anyway, yeah. Delta Runner 1. Yes? Yes, Delta Runner 1. Not bad. And then we'll move on to number 2. I believe Delta Runner 2, which is like a VTOL aircraft, and this is very cool. Again, this one in particular makes it difficult to tell. Like, this could totally be where the person sits, but I think that's where it's supposed to be, but this still looks like it could be, so it's just weird. But yeah, this is a neat little VTOL aircraft thing with guns molded on the side. Nice silver paint there for what I'm assuming are the intakes. Some nice detail, and again, I like the just silver lining that they've got going on in these translucent lights. Those look nice, and there's some decent molding around here. A nice blue as well. I mean, obviously the color scheme for all of these is going to be Ranger color plus white with a little bit of black and a little bit of silver. But yeah, this is a pretty solid vehicle mode as well. And number 3. It is a tractor trailer, which, yet again, if it weren't for the grid here, this could totally be cockpit area, but I think that's supposed to be. And this is fine. I mean, there's not a lot to it, but, you know, it gets the job done, and there's some nice little painted details for the lights there. Painted the wheels, the rims for the wheels silver, which I always appreciate. It is not a bad little truck mode. And again, green and white. I do like, with this series, I like the whole Ranger color plus white, and then like a little bit of black and silver color combination. I think it's a nice thing. It's not entirely the Ranger's color, but it's still obvious which Ranger it belongs to. And this thing, it's like I don't know, it's like some kind of overly angled car thing, and here it's a little more obvious that these are supposed to be the windows. These nice little clear bits on top for sirens. These kind of make it look like it could be a hovercraft, but I don't think it's supposed to be. I think this may be a thing from the show, I don't know. But yeah, it's fine. There's not a whole lot to it. I like the angular stylings of it. I like getting the little vents back here. That's a nice little detail. And the massive thrusters in the back. Yeah, not bad. And lastly, number 5. And why is it always pink that seems to get the shaft? It's like, I mean, it's not bad. It's not a bad looking vehicle. And this is like a nice little kind of big old siren thing in the front there. Problem with this is it's just kind of this goofy looking bubbly thing. It's the same as number 4, but this is definitely more angular. This looks like it's been slightly blown up like a balloon. It's got like a fluffy cloud motif. And it's just like, really? Pink can't be cool? Pink has to be the ambulance thing? We couldn't make this one pink? I don't know. It's a little too bulbous for my taste. I don't think it's bad. It's just, you know, compared to the others, it kind of stands out in a way. It's just, yeah. But on the on the plus side, there's no mistaking what the windows are for this thing. And while we're looking at vehicle modes, let's bring in the OmegaMax cycle and pull this out a little bit. Are you gonna assess from over there, honey? Yeah, she's going to assess. So this by itself looks kind of eh. I mean, the front part I think looks fine. I like this the wheel that kind of pokes all the way through. Like you can see the wheel comes out the bottom here and then out the top here. I think that's a neat effect. And there's some nice little details here and like the windscreen, whatever you want to call it, and like the lights for the, I guess you could say, handlebars. And the front looks pretty cool. It's like there are some, I think, scoops or intakes here, headlights, or these are headlights. I think they're all headlights. I don't know. The only thing that sucks with mine is I don't know if this happened in transit or not, because when I ordered this from eBay and it came from Japan, so there's like a paint smudge here that got on there when I think one of these things got loose in the box and was rubbing against it in transit, and I think that messed that up. And I tried wiping it off and it hasn't worked, so it's unfortunately just a unsightly blemish that's stuck there, but it's okay. It's, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that noticeable. Although if anyone knows how to potentially wipe something like that off, then by all means, chime down in the comments, chime in the comments down below, because I'd love to get rid of that. Because I can live with it, but it still bugs me. The rest of this looks a little bit emaciated. Like, the back is just kind of, it's just really thin, especially right around here. And I mean, you do get the wheel, which is fine. And the way this actually ends up working is there are wheels on these little bits here that just kind of keep it balanced. But, you know, the front looks nice and bulky and cool and kind of swept back. And the back is just kind of there. A little disappointing. But this is not the main attraction for this particular toy, so it's okay. Let's get this out of the way here. Oh, actually, before I get that out of the way, I think we should do size comparisons, huh? Well, here is the OmegaMax cycle next to a cat. So you can get a general feel for how big it is if you were to, say, try and have one of your cats ride it, I guess. Get this out of the way. And promptly bring this back because cat comparison is not good enough. Okay, so cat, Omega Cycle, Samus, Titan's Return Deluxe. So yeah, the cycle is pretty decent size. Okay, now we get rid of this. And for the rest of these, let's try and get these all into frame. Have to do this around a cat. My apologies, but she is my baby, so she stays. Alright, so there we've got 1, 2, 3, 5, and 4. I don't care. And there they are next to Samus. And with our Titan's Return Deluxe, let's get back there, I think. Yeah. So there you can see how big all of these vehicles basically are. And it's also funny because if you think of them in scale with each other, then Delta Runner 1 is huge! Alright, let's get these thingies turned into one big robot. How about it? Oh my goodness. I have to share this before I start. So cute. Okay. And here we have the DeltaMax Megazord, which is... it's okay. There are certain aspects of this Megazord that I think are pretty neat, and then there are others that I'm kind of like, eh. For one thing, the whole, like, primary colors thing, it works okay. Like, the way that it's almost everything is primarily white with, like, a little bit of hint of the different colors for the Rangers works to the Megazord's benefit. Because primarily you see white with just some accent colors, which... that's fine. And then, of course, you get a bunch of red in the torso. But there's a disparity in... there's kind of a big disparity in some of this stuff. Like, I'm fine with asymmetry, but it's a little much in the asymmetry in this regard. Like, just this leg looks shorter and thicker than this one, and this arm is bulbous and this one's more angular. The fists are the same, and they end up being the same length, but it's just kind of, I don't know. But then... the midsection and the head are pretty cool. Like, the chest looks nice. You got this cool kind of almost SWAT helmet looking thing with like a nice... like, I like that they actually also put like a clear visor over this, which looks neat. And it's kind of hard to tell, but they did paint the eyes in there. Come on, focus. Yeah, it looks good. The head looks good, I mean. It's a little... it sits a little far back on the chest. Like... the head is kind of back when it should be kind of up here, so that it'd be, you know, centered with the rest of the body, but It's a Megazord, you know. It is what it is. I do think it's kind of neat, even though it looks a little bit awkward, how you can flip this panel up and it acts as sort of like an arm badge for the Megazord. Unfortunately, when I got this, this was the only piece that it came with. There are others of these that you can like swap in and out, and this was just the only one that it came with. So, whatever. It would have been nice if it actually had like the SPD police badge logo there, but I don't really care. I'm not too broken up about it. So overall, pretty neat Megazord. And now getting to the lights and sounds portion of it. Let me just rip off an arm here so you can kind of see. If you turn this on, what's cool is those under the bits that were under the car that lit up are now in these legs. So when the lights go on, you get them in the torso here and in the legs, which is a neat effect. And because of the way the electronics work, if you basically like smash this thing like hard enough, it'll make a sound like stuff clashing together. So if you leave the electronics on when you transform it, you get some cool sound effects. So like imagine that going off every time you put a piece on. It's actually pretty cool. And I really do like the light effect that happens when you hit the button here. That's just really neat to me, how the lights cycle through the torso and the legs. Like I said, it's one of the few light and sound gimmicks that I don't hate on my toys. Okay, for a quick size comparison, now that it is a Megazord, there it is with the Titan's Turn Deluxe, and with Samus. And of course, you know, definitely gets bigger. Though, truth be told, this Megazord is kind of on the small side, all on its own. It's not huge. He's out of here. So here we have him next to the Shogun Megazord. So you can see, get kind of an idea of how, you know, in terms of, I mean, I know the Shogun Megazord isn't necessarily the standard size for Megazords, but it's the closest thing I've got, and yeah. He's a little bit on the tiny side. Come here, you. Alright, so before we get to the robot mode of the OmegaMax cycle, I do actually want to show off the way he can combine with the cycle in cycle mode, which, I mean, you've probably already seen it, but I still think it's neat, so I'm going to show it. Bring this in here, and we'll go through that combination real quick. And there we have the DeltaMax Megazord riding the OmegaMax cycle, and it's silly, but I actually really like this. I think, limited though it may be, they actually did a pretty good job of making it look like the Megazord is riding the cycle. Like, yeah, it's totally cheating by having the legs peg into or clip onto this stuff, so like they're not actually connected to the Megazord, but like, if you look at it from the right angle, it does pull off the illusion that the Megazord is actually, like, you know, sitting on the bike. And that's just, it's really neat. It's silly, but it's really neat. All right, let's get this taken apart again. All right, so we've already taken a look at the OmegaMax cycle on its own, so let's get this transformation underway. This is interesting to do with a cat cleaning herself in the background. I suppose it makes the various cuts and crossfades and whatever else have you much more obvious, but that's okay. So here we have, is this the OmegaMax Megazord? I don't know. I don't know. I guess this is the OmegaMax Megazord, which I guess means that, oh wait, that's okay. I got my names messed up. So this is the Delta Squad Megazord. The combination between this guy and this guy is the DeltaMax Megazord. Whatever. Anyway, the OmegaMax Megazord is really kind of lame looking. I mean, again, parts of it are fine. I'm fine with the shoulder armor. I kind of, the legs are fine, although it's weird that, like, the legs are just way up here. I mean, I know they had, there's only so much they could work with, but it's kind of, The head is not bad. Also has the whole, like, SWAT officer thing going. I like how they basically gave him, like, the kind of aviator-style glasses almost. I mean, there's some nice paint and, like, details all on all of these things, but the overall shape of this guy is a little bit awkward. But this is not why I got this because of combining with this. So, how do we do this with a cat in the way? Move you here. Move you here. Oh, watch the tail. Watch the tail. Okay. So, there we have... Sorry, honey, gonna have to take you off camera for a bit. Okay. Would you stop being lewd? Anyway. So, Delta Squad Megazord, OmegaMax Megazord. The OmegaMax Megazord is a little bit taller. In terms of just overall aesthetics, I do think they work okay together. Just the color schemes are fine. Like, this blue is reminiscent of this blue, the gold is vaguely reminiscent of the yellow, the whites obviously tie everything together, and you've got the translucent red. So yeah, they work. And real quick, bring in the Shogun Megazord, so you can see that even the OmegaMax Megazord is a little bit on the short side in terms of what I guess you could argue is the sort of norm for Megazord height. Out of the way. Incidentally, I still think the Shogun Megazord is really cool with all those repo labels. And lastly, before we get to the really good stuff, here we have our Titans Return Deluxe and Samus. So yeah, they're still, they're not tiny, but comparatively they're not big. Alright, let's get this over here, get you out of the way, and move everybody over. Right. So, now it is time for the main event. So I'm going to rip these guys apart, rip them apart entirely, and put them back together in a new way. So be right back. And at long last, here we have the DeltaMax Megazord. And I really, really like this. This looks cool. This was the entire reason why I wanted to get these two guys. And also, they came as a set, so that was cool too. It's funny, my initial impressions of this were kind of like, I don't know. Back when I first started getting back into collecting this stuff, I was watching some Sentai videos and it's just like, I don't know, this doesn't look all that great. The weird swept back crest head thing is kind of not doing it for me and so on. And then once I started getting back into the Sentai thing, really, I looked at this and was just like, that's actually really cool. And yeah, no, this guy's really cool. I really do like how this comes together. The one thing that I was kind of like, I hope you can change it, and thankfully you can, is these, like, just having 4 and 5 on the shoulders like that just seems pointless. Like they're getting ready to just drive off. I mean, I know like, one reason why they're turned like that is because these bits back here, it allows them to go around so you can have the arms kind of move freely. But you can totally turn them this way, and you only get like that click because then this bumps against the backpack, but I think it actually looks better having 4 and 5 turned to the side because it just kind of bulks out the shoulders a little more. And I have a thing for big shoulder pads. I can't imagine why. Yeah, this just looks very, very cool. I love the way all the colors come together. I like how you can angle these back and give him like exhaust pipes on his back. I mean, you can have him going straight up, or if you want, you can have him going straight down to kind of tuck him out of the way. I prefer having them up like this because I think it looks cool, but because of limited shelf space, I tend to have them displayed with them down, which is unfortunate, but sometimes that's just how it goes. In terms of the finer details here, it's pretty much all the same stuff that we've already seen, but the way it comes together here is really nice. I like how these bits form like shoulder pads almost and combine with 4 and 5, and like I thought I'd be weirded out by 2 and 3 becoming arms, mostly because you have these cockpit sections just jutting out. But it really doesn't bother me. Like I thought it would, but nope, totally doesn't. The fists actually look pretty darn good as fists. They definitely work better as fists than as the chest of the OmegaMax Megazord. And here you can kind of see how these stick up a bit, but yeah, like I said, it doesn't bother me as much as I thought. The only real new, I guess you could say new, details that we see in this mode is this chest piece that covers the chest of the, what was it, Delta Runner 1? I mean, this works. I think this kind of ties it all together because you've got like that white, the blue, white, and red with like a little bit of gold here, but like the blue, white, and red kind of goes all the way up through the entire center of the figure, where you've got like from the legs up to the chest now, up to the head. You've got a little bit of that blue and red fists. And it all comes together so nicely. And I really do like how just all throughout this combination, you've got these bits of translucent red everywhere. So it looks like he's just covered in emergency lights, which kind of makes sense if you think about it, because it's essentially built out of a bunch of police vehicles. So it works. The face, which is going to be tricky to get in there. The face also looks pretty good. I mean, there's not a ton to it. It's just, you know, silver mouth and nose with like this dark visor. But the helmet, I think, is pretty neat. And yeah, that just makes for a neat profile, how it like sweeps back. And yeah, I really like how that comes together. It's a bit much considering his head is like down here and probably, you know, just in this little portion here. So the rest of this is all just sort of for show, but it does look good. And lest we forget, the lights and sounds not only still work, but they actually work in conjunction with everything else. And that's really cool. Like just the way it shines through here and the way it actually does show. One more time. And how it does show down in the legs, even with the combination. Turning it off because it'll just beep at me continuously if I leave it on. But yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it would have been neat if the arms also flashed, but I honestly have no idea how they could have pulled that off, because I don't know how they could have synced up electronics considering this is a separate piece, this is a separate piece. Like, I don't think that would have worked. Getting to sizes, since everybody's all together now, we can put him with the Shogun Megazord, and you can see he's definitely gotten bigger. That is distinctly bigger than the average Megazord. Not huge. It's smaller than Daikai Shinkanō, smaller than Chocho Tokudayo, but bigger than the Astro Delta Megazord. And yeah, it's a good size. It's big and imposing enough. Also, for our last little comparisons here, you have the Titan's Turn Deluxe and Samus. And yeah, he's definitely bigger when you put the two of them together. There you. Right, so I think that's going to do it. I'm glad I finally got to do a video on this set, because this is ultimately a really cool set. I think the Delta Squad Megazord is fine as it is, and I really do like the lights and sound gimmick. And I think he's got some neat stuff in there. The individual vehicles are mostly nice. The combination is fun enough, if a little bit kind of standard, you know, it's leg, arm, torso. The torso's interesting, at least. It's got some cool accessories, which I have not shown off because I typically don't do that, but, you know, you can take some of the VTOL stuff off of 2 to make handcuffs. There are bits hidden inside 3, like a pistol and a knife blade that can be combined with this piece that comes off of 4 to make a knife or a sword. And yeah, it's pretty neat as is. The OmegaMax Megazord, on its own. Even the cycle on its own is kind of disappointing. The front looks good, the back looks bad. But both of these Megazords in either combination, I think, are really, really cool. As silly as seeing the Delta Squad Megazord ride the OmegaMax cycle is, it's still neat, and that's a cool combination. And then we've got this, which is an also really cool combination, and I am just super glad I managed to get my hands on the two of these, because separately, one is okay, the other one is lame, but together they are very, very cool. Anyway, that's going to do it. That has been my look at the Delta Squad Megazord, the OmegaMax Megazord, and the DeltaMax Megazord. I'm getting it right this time. DeltaMax Megazord. Thank you, everybody, for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those 3 would make me a happy Rob, and it would make Astrid a happy kitty. Yes, it would. Yes, it would. She is out cold. Anyway, thank you for watching, and remember, art is more than meets the eye.